The air in Willow Creek carried the faint scent of honeysuckle and damp earth, a quiet town tucked into the rolling hills just beyond the sprawl of a bustling city. For Claire Matthews, 35 years old and newly engaged, it was a sanctuary, a place where she carved out a life of her own, far from the jagged edges of her past. She sat on her porch that crisp April morning in 2025, cradling a mug of coffee, the steam curling upward like a promise. Her fiancé, Ethan Carter, was inside, humming off-key as he scrambled eggs. The sound made her smile. After 7 years together, his quirks still felt like gifts, his steady presence, his dry humor, the way he'd look at her like she was the only thing that mattered. A year ago, if you'd asked Claire what her biggest dream was, she'd have said this: to stand beside Ethan, ring on her finger, and finally feel like she belonged somewhere. Not just to him but to herself. For most people, an engagement is a glitter-dusted milestone, champagne toasts, teary hugs, and Instagram-worthy photos. For Claire it was a rebellion, a declaration, a middle finger to the decades she'd spent shrinking herself to fit into a family that never saw her. Growing up, Claire had been the invisible child in the Matthews household. Her younger sister, Sophie, for years her junior, was the golden one, the sun around which their parents, Margaret and Daniel, orbited. Margaret, a woman with a voice like a whip and a smile reserved only for Sophie, had made it clear early on where Claire stood. Second place, always. Daniel, a soft-spoken man who hid behind newspapers in silence, never challenged it. Claire could still picture her 10th birthday rain streaking the windows, her sitting alone at the kitchen table with a store-bought cupcake, while her parents fawned over Sophie's latest dance recital photos. By contrast, Sophie's 10th birthday had been a carnival, literal clowns, a bouncy house, and a cake shaped like a ballerina. Claire had learned young to swallow the hurt, to paste on a smile, to pretend it didn't carve her hollow. So when Ethan dropped to one knee under the willow tree in their backyard, his hazel eyes nervous but sure, Claire felt something crack open inside her. Joy, yes, but also disbelief. Someone had chosen her. Not Sophie. Not the shadow she'd been forced to live in. Her. They'd spent months planning the engagement party, a garden affair at a local vineyard, with fairy lights and jazz and a guest list of people who actually knew her name. It was going to be perfect. For once, Claire let herself believe she deserved it. That belief shattered 5 weeks before the party, on a Tuesday afternoon thick with spring humidity. Claire was at the dining table, surrounded by seating charts and fabric swatches, when her phone buzzed. Margaret's name flashed on the screen. A flicker of hope, stupid, stubborn hope, lit up in Claire's chest. Maybe her mother was calling to ask about the party, to offer help, to say she was excited. Claire answered, voice bright. Hey, Mom. Claire, cancel the engagement party. Margaret's tone was ice, sharp enough to cut through the static. Claire blinked, her pen freezing mid-scribble. What? You heard me. Cancel it. We're throwing a party for Sophie instead. The words hit like a slap. Claire's stomach lurched. What are you talking about? Sophie just landed a huge promotion at her firm. Senior architect. It's a big deal, Claire. We're celebrating it the same day as your little event. Everyone's coming to hers. Claire's mind reeled, grasping for sense. Mom, I've been planning this for months. The invitations are out. The deposit's paid. Ethan and I. You're being selfish, Margaret snapped, cutting her off. This is a career milestone for your sister. It matters. Your party's just party. Move it. No one will care. Claire's throat tightened, anger bubbling up past the shock. My engagement doesn't matter? This is my life, Mom. Mine. Not Sophie's. Margaret sighed, a sound so familiar it made Claire's skin crawl, the sound of her being dismissed as a nuisance. You always have to make everything so dramatic. Reschedule it. End of discussion. The line went dead. Claire sat there, phone still pressed to her ear, the silence roaring. Cancel it. For Sophie. Again. She could almost laugh at how predictable it was, except it wasn't funny. It was a knife, twisting in a wound she'd spent years pretending didn't exist. She didn't cry, though. Not yet. Instead, she felt a spark ignite, hot and fierce. Fury. When Ethan got home that evening, he found her on the couch, staring at the wall, her phone a cold weight in her lap. Claire? What's wrong? His voice was soft, but his eyes sharpened as he took in her stillness. She told him everything, her words spilling out in a rush. Margaret's call, the demand, the casual cruelty of it. Ethan's jaw tightened, his hands curling into fists. She actually said that? That's bullshit. I know, Claire whispered, her voice cracking. But she expects me to just do it. Like always. Ethan slid onto the couch beside her, pulling her into his arms. We're not canceling a damn thing. This is our moment. Screw them. She leaned into him, his warmth grounding her. I just wanted this one thing to be mine. It is, he said fiercely. It's ours. And no one's taking it away. The next morning, Claire woke with a resolve she hadn't felt in years. She wasn't going to let Margaret steal this. She and Ethan dove back into the planning, confirming the caterer, tweaking the playlist, double-checking the floral order. She refused to let her mother's shadow dim the light she'd fought so hard to claim. But as she sipped her coffee and scrolled through vendor emails, her phone buzzed again. A text from her cousin Tara. Tara. Hey Claire, you okay? Heard you and Ethan broke up. What happened? Claire frowned, her pulse quickening. Me what? No, we're fine. Who said that? Tara, Aunt Margaret. She told my mom you guys had a huge fight and called off the engagement. Said the party's canceled. Claire's breath caught. She typed back, fingers trembling. Me, that's a lie. The party's still on. Mom told me to cancel it for Sophie's promotion and I said no. She's making this up. Tara. Oh my God, seriously? That's messed up. I'll tell people the truth. Claire called Tara immediately, her voice shaking with a mix of panic and rage. She's lying to everyone, Tara. She told your mom the party's off so they'd go to Sophie's instead. I'm so sorry, Claire, Tara said, her tone thick with disbelief. I'll start spreading the word. We'll fix this. For the next few hours, Claire and Ethan worked the phones, texting and calling every guest on their list. She explained the truth over and over. No breakup, no cancellation, just her mother's sabotage. Some were confused, others outraged. A few admitted they'd already RSVP'd to Sophie's event, assuming Claire's was dead in the water. Each call drained her more, but she kept going, fueled by a stubborn determination to reclaim what was hers. By the time Ethan came home from work, Claire was hoarse, her fingers cramped from typing. He dropped onto the couch beside her, reading the exhaustion in her eyes. What now? She lied, Claire said, voice flat. Told everyone we broke up. I've been undoing it all day. Ethan's face darkened. That's it. We're cutting them out, Claire. Your mom, your dad, Sophie, all of them. They don't get to do this to you. She nodded, the weight of it settling in. I know. It hurts, but you're right. That night they posted a joint message on social media, clear and unapologetic. To our friends and family. There's been some confusion. Our engagement party is still happening as planned. Ethan and I are together, excited, and ready to celebrate with those who support us. See you there. It wasn't just a clarification, it was a line in the sand. The next day, Claire drove to her Aunt Ellen's house, a cozy bungalow on the edge of Willow Creek. Ellen had always been a soft spot in her childhood, warm hugs, homemade cookies, a quiet ally against Margaret's storms. Claire needed to know how far the lies had spread, and she trusted Ellen to be straight with her. But as she approached the porch, voices drifted through the open window, stopping her cold. I can't believe Claire would pull this, Ellen was saying, her tone heavy with disappointment. Canceling her own party just to spite Sophie? It's petty. Yeah, her daughter, Mia added. Sophie's worked her ass off for that promotion. Claire's just jealous like always. Claire's stomach twisted into knots. She stepped inside, her voice cutting through the air. Is that what you think of me? Ellen spun around, eyes wide. Claire. We didn't. Obviously, Claire said, her tone icy. What did my mom tell you? They hesitated, then spilled it. According to Margaret, Claire had lost it when she heard about Sophie's promotion, screaming, threatening to call off the engagement unless Sophie's party was scrapped. When Sophie refused, Claire supposedly canceled everything in a fit of rage, vowing to stay single rather than share the spotlight. It was a masterpiece of manipulation, painting Claire as the villain and Sophie as the saint. None of that happened, Claire said, her voice trembling with suppressed fury. She called me. Told me to cancel my party for Sophie's. I said no. So she made this up to ruin it. Ellen's face crumpled with guilt. Oh honey, I'm so sorry. We should have asked you. Yeah, you should have, Claire shot back, then softened. But I need your help now. Tell people the truth. Please. We will, Mia promised, her voice small. We'll fix it. Dear of Wying home. Claire felt a strange lightness. Not peace, not yet, but a shift. She'd spoken up. She'd stopped hiding. Still, a nagging dread lingered. Margaret wasn't done. Claire could feel it in her bones. The night of the engagement party arrived like a dream. The VY Neard glowed under a canopy of stars, string lights weaving through the trees, jazz floating on the breeze. Claire wore a deep green dress that hugged her frame. Her dark hair swept into loose waves. Ethan, in a sharp blazer, couldn't stop grinning. The guests' friends, Ethan's family, a handful of relatives who'd seen through the lies, mingled with glasses of wine, their laughter a balm to Claire's frayed nerves. Ellen and Mia were there, offering tight hugs and quiet apologies. For a moment, Claire let herself breathe. This was hers. She'd fought for it. Then she saw them. Margaret and Daniel standing at the edge of the crowd, faces like stone. Claire's heart stuttered. She hadn't invited them. Hadn't even told them the final details. Yet here they were, uninvited and unwelcome. Ethan tensed beside her. Want me to get rid of them? No, Claire said, steeling herself. Let's see what they want. Margaret didn't waste time. She stormed forward, heels clicking, her voice slicing through the music. You actually did this? After I told you to cancel? Claire met her gaze, unflinching. Yes, I did. You're humiliating your sister. Margaret's voice rose, drawing eyes. You're embarrassing this family. Margaret, stop, Ethan said, stepping between them, his tone hard. She shoved past him, undeterred. I'm her mother. She never listens. The crowd hushed, tension crackling. Claire's hands shook, but she held her ground. This is my night, Mom. Mine and Ethan's. Not Sophie's. Not yours. You ruin everything. Margaret shrieked, and then she moved. In a blur of rage, she grabbed a metal candelabra from a nearby table, its heavy base glinting in the light. Mom, no, Claire started, but Margaret swung. The candelabra slammed into Claire's shoulder, then glanced off the side of her head. Pain exploded, white-hot and blinding. She stumbled, crashing to her knees as screams erupted around her. Blood trickled down her temple, warm and sticky. Ethan lunged forward, catching her as she swayed. Claire! Somebody call 911. Tara's voice broke through the chaos, frantic as she dialed. She's bleeding, hurry. Within minutes, sirens wailed, red and blue lights flooding the VY Neard. Paramedics rushed in, police on their heels. Officers pulled Margaret back as she ranted. I didn't mean it, provoked me. But the cuffs clicked shut, and no one bought her excuses. Claire was lifted onto a stretcher, her VY shown swimming, Ethan's hand gripping hers. As the ambulance doors closed, she saw Margaret in the squad car, her face a mask of fury and shock. For the first time, Claire felt a flicker of something new, relief. The hospital was a haze of bright lights and antiseptic. A CT scan showed a mild concussion, a bruised shoulder, and a gash above her ear that took 8 stitches to close. Ethan stayed glued to her side, his face pale but his grip steady. You're okay, he kept saying, like he needed to believe it too. Claire spent 3 days under observation, the attack replaying in her mind on a loop. Margaret's scream, the candelabra's weight, the stunned faces of the guests. It wasn't just a tantrum. It was assault. She'd spent her life excusing her mother's venom, but this? This was a line crossed in blood. On the 4th day, propped up in her hospital bed, Claire looked at Ethan. I'm pressing charges. He nodded, no hesitation. I'm with you. All the way. With Tara's eyewitness account and Ethan's support, Claire hired a lawyer, Naomi Pierce, a no-nonsense woman with a fire in her eyes. You're not the bad guy here, Naomi told her. She broke the law. We'll make sure she answers for it. The case was airtight. Dozens of witnesses, plus VY Neard security footage, showed Margaret's unprovoked attack. In court, Claire took the stand, her voice steady as she recounted not just the assault, but the lifetime of neglect behind the forgotten birthdays, the favoritism, the constant erasure. Margaret sat stone-faced, refusing to look at her. The judge didn't flinch. Guilty of aggravated assault. 2 years in prison, mandatory therapy, and a 5-year restraining order. Walking out of the courtroom, Claire felt relieved, yes, but also hollow. She'd won, but the victory tasted bittersweet. Ethan squeezed her hand. "You did it." "I had to," she said quietly. "For me." Recovery was slow. Physically, her shoulder ached for weeks, the stitches itching as they healed. Emotionally, it was a deeper wound. She started therapy, unpacking decades of pain with a woman named Dr. Lydia Hayes, who taught her to name the hurt without letting it define her. Ethan's family stepped into his mom, Diane, baking casseroles and calling daily. His brother, Nate, cracking dumb jokes to make her laugh. They didn't pity her. They just loved her, no strings attached. Claire found purpose beyond herself, volunteering at a women's shelter in Willow Creek. She shared her story with survivors, her voice growing stronger each time she told it. It wasn't just healing, it was power. The wedding came 6 months later, a quiet affair at the same VY neared, reclaimed and redefined. No grand gestures, just 30 people who mattered: Ethan's family, Tara, Ellen, a few friends who'd stood by her. Claire wore a cream dress with lace sleeves, her hair loose, a scar faintly visible above her ear. She didn't hide it. It was part of her now. Under a wooden arch draped with wildflowers, she and Ethan exchanged vows. "You showed me what love really is," she told him, her voice clear. "I promise to build something real with you, and to never let anyone make me small again." When they kissed, the applause was soft but fierce. At the reception, Diane pulled Claire aside, tears in her eyes. "You're family now. Always." Claire hugged her, the words sinking in like sunlight. A week later, alone in their kitchen, Claire wrote a letter she'd never send. "Dear Mom, you broke me 1,000 times, but I'm not broken anymore. I'm free because I stopped waiting for you." She tucked it into a drawer, a quiet release. Willow Creek stretched out before her, a new chapter unfolding. With Ethan by her side, Claire wasn't just surviving, she was thriving, writing a story no one could steal.